Good afternoon. My name is Doug Wilson. I'm an adjunct professor here at Waynesburg University, and it is definitely my... Seriously? Why would you come to a presentation and have your phone on?
It's behind you.
Oh. Hey, Mom. Yeah, I was just getting ready to bed. I love you too. Mom wants me to remind you all to put your phones on silent mode, please. Take a moment to make sure that your phones are on silent mode. While you do that, allow me to take this opportunity to introduce to you our guests for today. 4 individuals that are going to be talking to you about their internships. First will be Caitlyn Carney. She is going to share insights from her internship with Allegheny County. Next, Bailey Yoga. She is going to provide you with some perspectives that she gained from her internship with Plato's Closet, Morgantown. That will be followed by Rachel Little. She is going to discuss her experience with Marodi Media. And to close things out, Haley Ryan. She's going to enlighten us about her internship with the Altoona Curve. So, how about a nice round of applause for our 4
Thank you all for being here today. I did my internship with Allegheny County in the County Executive's Office as a communications intern. When I was first looking for internships, I wasn't really looking for anything in government communications, but you'll see through this presentation that this internship changed my opinion on that. So getting into it, this is my agenda. I'll go through who I worked with, what my responsibilities were, my work produced, the challenges I faced, the best parts, and what I learned. So who I worked with, at the time the current county executive was Rich Fitzgerald, and then the current head of communications was Amy Downs, who's actually here today, so thank you for coming. And then I worked with 2 other interns, Xavier and Jackson. And then some of my responsibilities, I wrote some press releases, I wrote proclamations, and I did some social media posts. I'll get into the proclamations and social media posts later, but the press releases, I didn't write a ton of these, but I did a few, and this was really like the first piece that I knew I was applying from my schoolwork here, and that I feel like I had a good grasp on what they were, so then I could go into my internship and do good work for my boss. More of my responsibilities, we attended events with the county executive. I did something called the Legacy Project, which I'll also get into that later, and then I was in charge of doing a scrapbook for the county executive. He had been in office for 12 years, and this was his last term, so my boss had compiled a bunch of memorabilia from his past events and accomplishments that he had done, and she had me putting it together in a scrapbook, and luckily I got to finish those I think it was right around my last day. And then even with going back to attending events, this picture over here is an event that Governor Shapiro was at, so that was a cool opportunity to be a part of. And here's an example of some of my work produced. So this is what a proclamation looks like. When I started my internship, I really had no idea what a proclamation was. I heard the word before, but I wasn't really sure what it was. It's more of like a formal document that's declaring something as a special day. It could be for something like a 100th birthday, I did a lot of those, anniversary, or this was for Gabby Barrett, who's a country music singer, and she was coming to Pittsburgh to throw an opening pitch at a Pirates game. And we wrote a proclamation for her, and that was cool that I got to write it, and it was handed to her. Here is an example of some of my social media posts. So I would do fun things, like this one was for National Ice Cream Day, and I was in charge of like all the posts for July, so I got to do a few fun ones, and I also did some informative ones for the 4th of July. This one was sharing what the hours were on the 4th. And then the legacy project, so this is something that this is the biggest project I worked on during my internship. The purpose of this was because Rich this was his last term, and we were compiling everything together he had done over the past 12 years and sharing it. We wanted to put it in a document and share it with everybody. So this was the trails piece. I wasn't really aware of how many trails there were in Allegheny County, but there's a lot. And so I had to go through and do research on it and compile this information and turn it in. This was something I started on my very first day, and then I finished it, I think, like 2 months in. And what I liked about this is that I could see my work, like I started something and I saw it like fully finished. And then some of the challenges I faced. So one of my goals was to learn new things, but it's also not always the easiest thing to learn new things. It was sometimes challenging to apply what I had learned here to what I was doing in my internship, but I think I overcame this pretty well and adjusted to everything that I was learning. And then having confidence in my work was also a pretty big challenge for me. I knew this is something I struggled with in my academic life, but putting it into my professional life was a little bit more difficult versus my academic life. This was something I definitely worked on, though. I think starting off, I was really nervous about turning any work into my boss, but eventually, as I got more confident in what I was writing and what I was producing, my confidence skyrocketed for the most part. And now that in my academic life, I think I have more confidence too. And then at one point in the summer, I know I got kind of burnt out. I had been working this internship Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends I was also working a job, so I didn't have a ton of me time. But luckily at one point I got to go on a vacation, and once I came back and I was in the office again, I was like, oh, wow, I feel so much better after having been on this vacation. And then some of the best parts, I really liked learning and experiencing all the new things that I did. My boss was super great, and she wanted the 3 of us interns to learn everything that we could about the county and in the county. So she would have us meet with, I think it was 18 departments in the county. So we just got to sit down for like a 30-minute hour meeting with each department and really learn, like, as a whole what the county really does. And then going to events was a lot of fun. We would usually get driven with the county executive and with his detail. So we would show up and we would look pretty important getting out of the car with the county executive. And then this picture on the top is the Pittsburgh Convention Center roof, and it's just a really beautiful event space. And it was also a beautiful day, so that added to it. And then it was also my coworker was really great. Rich was great to work with. He even sat down with us a few times and wanted to know, like, what we care about as like 20, 21-year-olds in the county. And then both the interns I worked with, they were great. It was fun to have students that were my age to bounce ideas off of. And then my boss, Amy Downs, was also really great. And she's basically like I would call her a local celebrity in like the Pittsburgh area. Walking down the street with her, there's at least 2 people every time who come up and are talking to her, and then they look at if us interns were with her, they'd be like, she is so great, she's so great. And people do it all the time, and now I'm doing it. And then what I learned. So about myself, I learned that I would work in government. I liked the idea that I could make an impact in the community that I would be working in. I also learned that it's important to keep a good relationship with the media, especially if you're working with a public figure. The media is a huge part of that, and just maybe take them out for coffee, just like build that mutually beneficial relationship with them. And then last thing I learned was to use time wisely. This is something I knew already, but applying it to my professional life, I really saw how my boss and how Rich did this wisely. This picture, I think we had been at some type of press conference, and right after they just needed to grab a quick interview, so it was like doing things coinciding with each other, so it was like we didn't have to schedule that then. They were already there, so they could just quickly do the interview and get it done with. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions? Go
ahead. Can you see yourself working in government PR as
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I'll consider going into my professional life for sure. Go ahead.
Did you like that section of government, or do you want to try a different section of government?
That's a good question. I really liked meeting with the Human Services Department, so maybe something in that. I just like that they were even, I think, helping people on an even larger scale than just like being in like strictly the communications function. Go ahead.
Wow, what was your favorite part? Or like, did you have a favorite moment during the summer of the internship?
The one that comes to mind is going to that, I think he was signing something, Governor Shapiro was. It was just cool to be in that presence, and I didn't get to shake his hand, but one of the other interns got to, so that was just, it was a cool thing to see. Okay, is that all? Next we have Bailey Yoakum.